Yo, it's your boy Jay Boogie back with another video today. Today, I'll be talking about the best version of PG-13 Paul freaking George. So, the first version I want to talk about Paul George is no other than the Indiana Pacers version of Paul George. Pretty much up and coming rookie. Pretty much when Danny Granger went down, who was a bucket, could have been more of a bucket if he stayed healthy. But once he took Danny Granger's spot at the small forward position, pretty much we're seeing this kid that was very athletic. Seeing this clip, the first polarization dunk on Birdman was sick. But pretty much in his highlight, you see how very athletic he was with the Pacers in terms of just mobility, explosiveness to the rim. And pretty much it was known to be a defensive slasher at first. And then pretty much once he become more of that all-star for the Pacers, his offensive game was getting better in terms of his shooting form, which had changed. His mechanic was fixed. He became a much better three-point shooter. I think pretty much his third year with the Pacers, and his fourth year, pretty much his last 2 years before that crucial injury. And pretty much, with Paul George, man, this club, man, like I said, he was more defensive minded. He was obviously younger, slasher to the rim, polarizing people, incredible fancy dunks. And pretty much, man, he was pretty much like a two-way, a pure two-way. Not a full two-way in terms of just offensive ability, because like I said, he was really known more for his defensive prowess, his athletic ability. And pretty much I think this version of Paul George, Indiana made the most all defensive teams when he was with the Pacers. And pretty much, man, like I said, you seen this clip, man, of how athletic and explosive he was at the rim. He was a great finisher at the rim in terms of dunking, finishing ability, contact layups, making contact. And like I said, he was obviously young in his younger days, younger legs, and that leg injury pretty much changed his game. But pretty much during that 2014 Team USA scrimmage when he had that gruesome leg injury. So this version of Paul George, man, was, like I said, is probably the best defensive-minded Paul George in my opinion. In terms of just strictly just defense, he was more of a slasher, athletic, and like I said, his offensive game was pretty much upcoming. It was proven bit by bit. Wasn't the 23 plus point scorer yet. Like I said, this Paul George, this is all of what the NBA fans know him to be, love to be. You have to be there when it was him, David West, George Hill, a good, available, consistent Roe Hibbert. At one point, they had guys like CJ Watson, all of them guys. So the Indiana version of Paul George, like I said, was the most athletic and most completely defensive-minded player version of Paul George. So kudos to him to having a good career with the Pacers, no doubt about it. And then moving on to OKC version of Paul George. In my opinion, this is the best version of PG, especially his second year at OKC. He went out of his mind. Seeing this clip, the catch and shoot off the dribble ability, at the three-point line was sick. This when he became more deeper in his offensive bag, his offensive ability, his handles, shooting off the dribble ability, the shot creating he was doing. And he was just out of his mind playing along with my favorite player, Russell Westbrook. But despite not having the biggest playoff success, but this version of Paul George, in terms of his skill set, his adaptability of his offensive game, it just skyrocketed. And we pretty much seen this clip of how elusive his ball handling has gotten, much smoother, how better he can create his shots off the dribble, a much better shooter in general, a much better scorer. Now you can rely on him in many ways on offense, taking over games, making clutch shots. And I say he still had his athletic ability of finishing at the rim, making post arounds and dunking at the rim in general, finishing at the rim. And this versus the Paul George, like I said, I think his second year, he finished top 3 in MVP race. Pretty much he finished third place for the MVP race. Easily could have won MVP, easily that year. But the Western Conference was so tough, and I think Giannis won MVP that year, if I'm not mistaken. Or James Harden won the two, and like I said, man, Paul George, OKC, hands down the best version, no doubt. Became a full, complete two-way player. This is prime two-way player, Paul George, offense and defense, but it was more so of his offense, because offensive game has gotten so much better, much fluid, much smoother, and then I can of how he can create shots off the dribble. You already seen this clip with pretty much what he's been doing. And then, lastly, no other than the Clippers version of PG-13. Pretty much, man, like I said, his offensive game was pretty much has gotten so much better in OKC that it's gotten much better even more with the Clippers, especially his three-point shooting has gotten that much more consistent and shooting at a higher rate. And this version of Paul George, like I said, offensively minded. I think the 21-22 season was his best season ever with the Clippers. I think that's the same season. No, it was not the same season. The season before that, him and Reggie Jackson carried the Clippers to the Western Conference Finals that year. Nobody saw that coming, but Paul George was definitely dominating that playoff run with Reggie Jackson for the Clippers that year. But then the next season, he was out of his mind with the numbers. You see the stats of his best season with the Clippers that year. He was just getting per buckets. You see in this clip. Same way his offensive game, fluid, the handles, the shooting ability. Like I said, Paul George always been a good defender, but he wasn't that much more defensive minded like that. The later on his years, ever since that injury, because his offensive game had to get much better, because now you have to be the star player and able to score the ball and shoot the ball. So it's still have a good defensive moment, still a good two-way player. And like I said, this version of Paul George, man, I feel like it's more complete offensively, despite the inconsistency of his playoff appearances or playoff moments with the Clippers. And this version of Paul George, like I said, offensively, now his offensive game has become full completed in terms of three-level scoring of three-point shots, mid-range, finishing ability, shooting off the dribble, able to post up, post fadeaway, stuff like that. So this version of Paul George was more offensively minded and more complete on the offensive end. And then we're going to see how he's going to be with the 76ers playing along with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. We're going to see what type of player he's become, or is going to become, with the 76ers this upcoming season. So I'm excited to see that. So if you like this video, like, comment, share, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. I love you guys. Comment below which Paul George you guys likes the most. I love you guys. J Boogie is out.